Good morning. I'm about to embark on a new series based on the life of a very important individual by the name of Phillips. And unfortunately, in one manner, Mr. Phillips passed on May 23rd. He was 73 years old. He was born in 1935, May 15th, congestive heart failure. He's a great storyteller and labor organizer, a real true American, represents what this country, the best of what this country can create and prepare and offer the world. Wonderful spokesperson for labor organizers, and also a folk singer and strongly known as a storyteller. He liked to share the stage with friends, a circle of friends. Did a little piece on him. Tell stories, just like sitting around in the living room. Dedicated the entire hour to him, and an interview they had done with him in 2004. And some of the things that he said in the interview, I jotted down some notes and wanted to present what he had to say because I felt it was pivotal. I also feel that what he said and offered can set me on a synchronous exploration of some of the ideas that he was talking about and create change in not only my life but anyone that comes in contact with this, takes this serious and is ready to receive the deep wisdom that was created. He ran away young and spent time on the railroads, living life like as a hobo, and learned how to play guitar, and eventually he began touring, and he toured extensively for 40 years, and slowed down finally in 2004 when he had this chronic heart disease. He was the son of labor organizers, and at one point he even ran for Senate on the Peace and Freedom Party. So he had quite a life. In his later years, he opened a homeless shelter where he lived in Nevada City, California, where he settled down there. And he, born in Cleveland, and took the name Utah, said in the vein of Texas Tyler, took the name Utah Phillips. He was nominated for a Grammy for an album that he did with Ani DeFranco, a 1999 album called Fellow Workers, a labor album. And he also had another album in 1996 from him. That's actually how I first heard of him. Interestingly enough, another one of my personal favorites, a woman by the name of Kate Wolf, when she was falling ill, before she passed, she asked him, this was in the 80s, she asked him to fill in her dates, and he had some kind of sickness where he couldn't play the guitar as well as he could in the past, and he hesitated to take on the dates, and she said to him that people don't just come here to hear you play guitar anyway. And he used that as a way to explain how he became more and more of a storyteller later in his career. So there's some pieces. He also had a radio show called Loafer's Glory, which ended up going into non-existence when they lost some funding. So that's some of the life story of him. Really eye-opening and wonderful interview that he did on the Democracy Now! Program. One of the first things he opened up in the interview was talking about when on his tours, he liked to arrive in the city at least a day before the show, and he felt as a performer that the show began not when you take the stage per se, or even get to the venue, but that the show begins when you arrive at the city that you're playing in. And that each town has its own character and its own feel, and he felt compelled to get in there and really experience what the town and what the people had to offer and say to him. He was a real firm believer in being with the people, And a lot of his wisdom came from being around elders and people, the older folks, the people that have done some living, that can tell their story, can really offer insights into what's happening. And you know, especially as we live in a world where it doesn't seem like we appreciate the older people, and they get thrust into these old folks' homes, and this is our wisdom, and this is our life, our thread to history and the past. It's getting taken away, and he's a firm believer in finding your elders. He was actually referring to the state of the country now. This was 2004 what he was talking about. And he said that we were in the middle of a corporate fascist takeover. And he brought up the Weimar Republic and talked about Germany in the 20s in comparison. And he said that the long memories are being taken away from us, that we're getting these short-term memories and these short attention spans. And we're without any idea of where we came from or what our past resonates with. We're getting leapfrogs from one crisis to another, and we don't even understand exactly what's happening. He said, if you find your elders and dip deep into that stream, that river, all the tributaries and all the different directions that you go in, that you can really come in touch with that deep wisdom that we're losing. And he blamed television for a lot of that, and said for himself, even when he watches it, he can't even. He couldn't even watch. The frequency of the images moved too fast. A few times he watched it after he had destroyed his television. Now that it alters consciousness, and that's why they use it. The people that use it. And he put a blindfold around his TV, put a cigarette in it, took it out back, hauled it out back, and put a shot through it. And left it there. Eventually a tree grew right through it. I think it was a lilac tree. Said it eventually looked quite an attractive sight. that a lot of our children they're trapped between dream time and world time, and you got to find the bridge between the two and know where they're at and where their mind is at, and when they're in the real world and when they're in this dream world. Interesting concept. Says that through television we're being robbed of our imagination. That radio actually assists the imagination because it doesn't provide the images for you, and it gives you the freedom to develop your own images. So it actually adds to the imagination, which is being corrupted and stolen from people, and especially our young people. He fought in the Korean War. He actually enlisted in the war. He said he learned things the hard way, but that when you learn painful lessons and you learn them the hard way, you don't easily forget them. And there was a major turning point in his life was when was there life among the ruins, imperial destruction, and he saw it as a license for excess by the young soldiers, and commented that it's just a blueprint for self-destruction, that you end up destroying yourself when you engage in these kind of warlike practices. Which eventually led him to become a pacifist. And he said, if you look at all the wars and all the destruction that happens, there's one thing in common, is that it's young men with guns, that it's not old people out there, and that it's not children and it's not women. It's young men with guns. No matter who's putting them up to it, you're talking about a young man's aggression, and if somehow we can limit that. As a matter of fact, he called the feminist movement one of the most powerful movements ever, and said that if men and women could eventually understand each other, the rest of the world would just take care of itself naturally. And interesting how he became a pacifist. I found this especially powerful. Was he was angry and acting out, and a man by the name of Ammon Hennessy, who was a Christian anarchist of all things, and also pacifist, told him that he needed to take on nonviolence, and mentioned reading a book by Gandhi, and said, you have to take on nonviolence like an alcoholic is going to take on not drinking, and that it's going to be with you every day. In every situation you're going to have to make a decision, but if you make it a point in your life that you can live a good, peaceful life. And that he told told Utah that he had to make him take that step, and that was a life-changing event. And he also told him something very interesting. I guess being a white man in this society, he said you have to lay down the arms of privilege and go into every situation unarmed, and not live behind I guess the power that we have